English speaking classes. Do they work? Ladies, gentlemen, boys and girls, hello, I'm Julian Northbrook from doingenglish.com and welcome. Spoken English classes, are they effective? Do they work? A very common question that I get in various forms all the time. The only real answer to this question, like most questions, is of course going to be it depends. It depends on you, it depends on what your goals are, what you're trying to do with English, it depends on what sort of person you are, and a whole host of factors. Too many really to be able to give a single definitive answer to this question without me actually sitting down with you, discussing your situation, and you get it. What I can do, however, is talk in terms of my own experience and the experience of many of my clients and the people that I have worked with in the past. And here's what I'm going to say. If what you really need to do is something like get a high score in IELTS, then classes can be a better option. Because a good teacher will be able to teach you the rules of the game and then give you practice exercises that you can practice with a partner in the class, and you get the idea. But that really is for a very specific goal that is quite far removed from the real world. I don't really deal with that sort of thing myself, not interested whatsoever. Talking to my own clients, the vast majority of people who take speaking classes, whether it's the typical ESL class or the English conversation style of lesson, long-term tend to be very, very disappointed with the results. And there are several reasons why, which I'm going to talk about in this video. Now, in terms of the more traditional ESL class, even if they're called English speaking classes, what tends to happen in those classes is that you have a teacher, sometimes trained, sometimes not, who will have a textbook and they will follow that textbook from start to finish, and you will memorize vocabulary and learn grammar rules and practice those, often with those silly, cringe-inducing ESL games that ESL teachers love so much. And the problem with all of this is it is so unbelievably simplified. You can't reduce spoken English down to here are some patterns to practice with a partner, now you can speak English. Like, it just doesn't work like that. Not only this, but it suffers from the same problems as the one-on-one conversation lesson style of class also suffers from. And that is that if you are talking with somebody who you know really, really well, 2, a trained teacher, 3, someone whose grasp of the English language is also quite low, well, it is a much, much simpler task than walking into a meeting and having to perform well in a high-pressure negotiation situation, which is going to make your company $1 million. Like, do you see what I mean there? Again, it's highly reductionist, it's highly simplified, and that doesn't really help you at all in the complex real world. Now, when it comes to these kind of conversation classes, which are extremely common in Japan, all over Asia, I believe, and increasingly online, is you're going to have a one-on-one conversation situation lesson with someone who is trained to understand you in English, no matter how bad your English. Which is great for having a fun conversation with your teacher, but then when you walk out into the real world and you're confronted with people who aren't trained to understand your English no matter how shit it is, everything falls to pieces. It's a very, very different type of situation. Well, not only that, but one of the big problems with these classes is that they become very, very comfortable very, very quickly. Generally what these schools will do is they will give you a free trial lesson. And the reason they do that is because when you have that free trial lesson, it's all new. You've never done it before. You are probably going to be pretty nervous. You're going to be shitting yourself about sitting down with this perhaps native speaker, perhaps not, with this English speaker that you're going to have to converse with for the next hour, and you walk in there and you're sweating and you're thinking, oh my God, can I really do this? Well, it's that fear factor that actually makes it a very memorable situation that you're able to learn from. See, when we walk into a situation that terrifies us, the brain's reaction to that is to trigger something called flow state, which is a state of heightened focus and awareness, where we are able to better problem solve our way through the situation and come out the other end unscathed. Well, this is brilliant for learning and improving your English, but the problem is, as soon as those classes, as soon as those lessons stop scaring the shit out of you, you're done. That's it. You've gotten all the benefit from that class that you can now get. Because as soon as it becomes comfortable, you will just repeat the same stuff every single time. There's no more stepping out of your comfort zone. There's no more stretching yourself. You will fall into the routine of having the same mundane conversations every single time. What did you do last weekend? What are you going to do this weekend? Nice weather today. Sure is hot, isn't it? Like, if you've had these classes before, you've almost definitely experienced this. Again, I'm not going to say that these kind of classes are not beneficial for anybody. I'm sure for some people they are. For the kind of people that I work with, people who are aiming to reach a very high proficiency level. Not just speak fluently, but actually speak in a sophisticated, eloquent manner, in a way that perhaps matches the level of eloquence and sophistication that they have in their first language. People who are actually aiming to get out into the real world and do amazing things. If that's you, these oversimplified conversation classes are probably not going to get you the results that you want. Now, if you're just learning English as a hobby and you just like to have somebody to chat to once a week and you're not actually ever going to use English in the real world, brilliant. Again, be my guest. I think it really depends on your level of expectation. If your expectations are low, speaking classes, brilliant. If your expectations are high, well, you're going to need to take a slightly more unconventional approach. And that is where I can help. I send free daily emails packed with tips for speaking better English. Just head over to doingenglish.com, stick your email address in the box provided, and sign up. You will get an email from me at about 8 a.m. Island time each and every day. One more thing that I want to point out before I close this video is this idea of practice doesn't really make much sense. Now, my thinking has changed somewhat on this over the years, I will admit, but ultimately, as a second language speaker myself, I have never practiced my Japanese. I speak it at a very high level, but I've always learned the language that I need and then gotten out there and actually done real things in the real world with it. The only situations where I've ever actually, kind of practiced something is situations where I would have done the same thing in English. Things like speeches or presentations, things that have to be prepared and rehearsed in advance so that you can do it very smoothly and very eloquently in the actual situation. Again, if I had an important speech to give, I would do the same in English, like I would practice it then too. But things like just speaking, it doesn't really make much sense. Like, do stuff, do real stuff. Again, I think it really comes down to your expectations. If you are a hobbyist and you don't really use English, you're never going to use English, you don't really care about using English, you just want to enjoy learning a bit of English and chatting to somebody in a class, brilliant, there's nothing wrong with that. But if you have much, much higher aspirations, then you're going to want to take a slightly different approach. Right, this is me, Julian Northbrook, signing out from this video. Head over to doingenglish.com, sign up for my free daily emails, subscribe to this channel if you're new, thumbs up if you like it, thumbs up if you hate it, and I will see you, my friend, in the next video. Bye-bye.